they're cheaper than other prostitutes.
They never stop to pee?
You know, the screaming, yelling. I just don't deal with that.
Not a big fan of Oprah at all. Fuck her.
I wouldn't come back, punch one or both of them.
Maybe I'm thinking of Bill Maher.
We're pretty good, except when it comes to gambling.
What about slot machines?
It's hard for me to be attracted to a girl if I know for sure I can't beat her up.
Welcome to the show. I am that Chris Gore. This is PodCRASH, the show where you get to hear a different podcast each week where I appear as a guest. This week I'm crashing a show called Yoshi Didn't with my very good friend Yoshi Obayashi. You've heard him on my live shows. You've heard him guest host with me here on a couple episodes of the show just because he happens to be around. And I've appeared on his show a couple times. I've actually guest co-hosted on his show because he has kind of a group of revolving co-hosts. Before we get to Yoshi Didn't, a couple of things. Hey, support PodCRASH by going to GoDaddy.com. If you've got to register a .com, like I recently registered CelebritiesPoop.com to promote my comedy album, just go to GoDaddy.com, use the offer code PodCRASH. You get a deep discount and you'll get your .com registered. It's something that I use myself. So go to GoDaddy.com. Offer code PodCRASH. Also, if you would like to hear my stand-up comedy album, Celebrities Poop, it's currently available on iTunes. You can also download it directly from cdbaby.com. And in addition, you can go to celebritiesporpoop.com, and for a limited time, you can buy the book that accompanies the comedy album, and you get a bonus track not available on iTunes or CD Baby. In addition to the bonus track, you also get the PodCRASH Fan Club Kit. Absolutely free. So go to celebritiesporpoop.com. Okay, this is a weird week for me. It's crazy. I am going to DragonCon in Atlanta, Georgia. It is nerdy gras. It is a celebration of all things cosplay. I've been watching that show, The Heroes of Cosplay, on Sci-Fi Channel, and I happen to really like it. I know a bunch of the girls on that show. I know Becky. I know Yaya Han. I know Scruffy Rebel. I know a bunch of the ladies who appear on that show. They're not nearly that catty. In real life, there's much more camaraderie amongst girls involved in cosplay than that show would make it appear. But I highly recommend the show because it's nice to see cosplay getting recognized for the amazing work that the women and their boyfriends. I did make a joke on Twitter about how I think that there should be an entire show just about the boyfriends that help out their cosplay girlfriends. But there really is an art to this is effectively wardrobe design, and I love the costumes that get very creative and different. I'm actually going to be doing some costumes myself at DragonCon, which is mostly, for me, DragonCon's like it's a big nerd. It's like more like Comic-Con for adults. I mean, there are panels and whatnot, and there is a dealer's room, but it's really all about hanging out, dressing in costume, and drinking. All things I like. So I'm going to be doing 2 comedy shows there. It's the Kings of Cosplay Comedy. It's a live show that I'm testing out. I'm going to test it out for the first time. It's going to be a combination of stand-up comedians in costume. It's also going to be readings of fanfic. We're going to be doing fanfic theater involving members of the audience. It's going to be a blast doing 2 shows, Kings of Cosplay Comedy, at DragonCon, one on Saturday night and one on Sunday night. Go to DragonCon and get DragonCon.com to get more details, or follow my Twitter at @ThatChrisGore. I'm not going to be doing a show next week for a little bit. I need to take a break. I'm sort of taking stock of all the stuff happening around PodCRASH and whatnot, and I need to take a little bit of a break. It won't be a long one at all. Don't worry about it. But next week is I hate even bringing this up, but next week is my birthday, and I'm not one of those people that likes, when I hear that adults are having a birthday party, I sort of cringe. Or when people say, it's my birthday week, it's my birthday month. What are you, 5? Give me a break. And when my friends ask me, like, what do you want for your birthday? I always say, you can just say happy birthday. Or, you know what? If we're out, you can buy me a beer. You buy me a drink. I appreciate it. I am in the Patton Oswalt camp. Patton Oswalt does a great bit about birthdays where he talks about how you should, when you're a kid, you celebrate them all, but once you reach a certain age, after 21, it's pretty much just decade by decade. I'm having one of those off-year birthdays that is not that interesting, but I always tend to get depressed around my birthday because I feel like I need to take stock of what's happening in my life and whatnot, and this has been just a bizarre year of transition, going from full-time employment at a network that no longer exists to making a go of it in stand-up comedy, to, starts and stops with other projects. It's weird to work in the world of entertainment. So I had an interesting idea. Rather than having a traditional birthday party, this is something I'm seriously going to do. I am not having a birthday party around my birthday. I'm going to, because my birthday always comes around Labor Day weekend, so people tend to be doing other things anyways. They're traveling or they're doing barbecues or whatever. So I'm going to have a gathering amongst all the people in my life that are important, and I'm going to be holding the first annual Friend Awards. That's right, the Friend Awards. I'm going to do everything they do at award shows. I'm going to have a big fancy logo. I'm going to have an announcer. I'll have a step and repeat and a red carpet with a publicist that'll be mean to people. And I'm going to have all my friends work up the red carpet while they're interviewed and have photos taken of them. Then I'm actually going to give awards to all my friends. And every friend of mine, every person that's important to me in my life will receive an award if they show up to this party. The trick is, what award are you going to be winning for? It's a little flip on the PodCRASH awards. I'm going to admit that, but I just thought this would be funny. It's a way I'm going to celebrate my friends rather than having them get together to celebrate me, because I'm a giver, and also it'll be a great way for me to get rid of a lot of stuff in my place. There's a lot of things. Look, when I regift really well, but I could give an award to the best ex-girlfriend. I think I could give maybe a couple of those awards. An award for the friend who always is around to help me move. The friend who always drives me, which would be my good friend John Brandstetter. There would be there's so many awards that come to mind and so many ways that I can think of to show my friends appreciation for how much they've helped me out. That I just think having a gathering and a party called the Friend Awards is better than a birthday. I hope this starts a trend. I'm probably going to write the screenplay. Someone said that they thought that idea was so stupid that it might make like a good dumb Judd Apatow movie. Who better to write it than me? I've got the time. So that's what's up with me. Hope to see you guys at Dragon Con. Let's get to this week's Crash. I was on Yoshi Didn't, hosted by Yoshi Obayashi, which if you don't know anything about Yoshi, he's a Korean comedian with a Japanese-sounding name, and his podcast it's a comedic interview show, but he says it's meant to humanize the dehumanized. He does interviews with professors, with other comedians, with people. He used to work as an editor in the adult film industry, so he'll interview on occasion people from the adult film industry. And he used to have a co-host named Lalit Arvahi. She's no longer part of the show, but Yoshi was part of one of my favorite podcasts, which I haven't listened to in a while, DVD ASA, and he was fired from the show, which I'm not sure if he was fired fairly. I don't know all of the details behind it. It just seems like it was a personality issue with David Cho, the host of the show, who's a multi-gazillionaire from his stock in Facebook, and he's a world-renowned artist whose paintings sell for tons of money, and Yoshi was part of the show with Asa Akira and whatnot, and Yoshi was dismissed, but I kind of feel like the show is missing something without him. But Yoshi does his own show, Yoshi Didn't, and there's even a Yoshi Didn't app, which you can download for Android and iPhone, all the OS devices, all that stuff. But it's a show that I've been on a bunch of times. And I'm going to play clips from the episode that I was on, that I was on where we just talked about stuff that you might not know about me. It was a discussion where Yoshi and I are kind of just getting to know each other. We became fast friends. I met him really via Twitter, and then we finally physically met and just instantly became friends. It's one of those things where, when you meet people and you feel like you've known them for a really long time, and Yoshi fits into that group for me. Just a guy I really have grown to love and care about as a friend. He's going to win a Friend Award. He may win Friend of the Year if he shows up to my Friend Awards party, which will be sometime in the month of September, which is my birthday month. So September 5th is the actual birthday, And I like, all right, I'm not going to get into it because I'm going to get depressed if I think about my bird. Let's get to Yoshi Didn't. So here are some clips and highlights from Yoshi Didn't. I learned to read before kindergarten, not because I cared about reading or literature. I just wanted to know what times certain movies were on. So I learned to read the newspaper TV guide listing so I could find out what movies were on that I could watch. And
what is it about the movie? It just fascinated you at such a young age?
Well, at a young age, here's what fascinated me. And this I think shows when you're single-digit age, like you're like 3-4 years old. Here's what fascinated me about movies is that it used to bother me that no one went to the bathroom in movies.
What?
No one. Look, I watched The Wizard of Oz.
Sure.
Does Dorothy ever stop to take a piss? They're on that yellow brick road for how long? They never stop to pee? There's no bathroom breaks? How many times have you been on a family trip in a car going somewhere? You have to stop to pee. You peed at my house 3-4 times since you've been here.
Sure.
Okay, in the course of a movie, does anyone, maybe the Tin Man doesn't pee because he's made of tin. He has a tin penis. Right?
Okay, yeah.
The Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz has a tin penis. The Cowardly Lion definitely is a mammal. The Scarecrow, I'm not sure if he pees.
So you're like 3 or 4.
I'm 3 or 4 years old, and I'm thinking, because your concerns at that age are pooping and peeing, potty training, right?
Sure.
Right? Like you're eating, toys, love from mother or father. So these are your concerns as a kid, and it used to bother me, like obsessively bother me, that every movie I would watch as a kid, no one would pee. This movie blew my mind when I was 5 years old.
Which one?
My dad took me to a retrospective screening of the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, one of the greatest movies of all time.
One of the greatest movies of all time, directed by Stanley Kubrick. In the film, you know the doctor from the movie?
Sure.
Is it Dr. Flynn, right? He's traveling from the Earth to the moon.
Sure.
In the shuttle. Well, he's actually going to the space station. Then from the space station, he will go to the moon. So he's traveling. You see him in this Pan Am spaceship going to the space station. And in that scene, he stops, he gets up, and he goes to the bathroom.
Is that right?
Dr. Flynn goes to the bathroom in the movie.
Okay.
And the scene is he's looking at the instructions of how to go to the bathroom in space.
That's right.
And it's this giant long instruction. And Stanley Kubrick being so detail-oriented that he made them come up with real instructions. So if you freeze frame,
because there's something about like sometimes material float in air.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you freeze frame it, and people have done it, you can find this online. If you freeze frame it, that scene from 2001 where he goes to the bathroom, you'll read the instructions, the real instructions.
Sure.
Now, when I was a kid, it freaked me out.
Finally.
Because it was the first movie I had seen as a child where I said, oh my God, someone goes to the bathroom. This movie is real. Because all other movies before that were fake. Because they were fake because in real life you go to the bathroom. This is the first movie where someone went to the bathroom.
Wait, but let me ask you, did your dad take you to the theater to see
the
that?
Movie theater. This is like in the...
This is such a serious movie. For how old were you?
Exactly. I was 5. So yeah, this was years after it had been out.
Okay.
So it was a retrospective screening, you know, and it was at the Dollar Theater, the cheap-ass theater. The Berkeley Theater.
Did your dad ever tell you why
Michigan.
he thought...
Well, no, in Berkeley, Michigan.
Why did he think this is such appropriate... It's not that there's anything terrible. It's such a mature classic.
We used to watch Star Trek together. So my dad and I used to watch reruns of classic Star Trek, and he knew I loved outer space stuff. I remember sitting there and I was very little. I must have been like 3 years old. Mm-hmm. Because when did we land on the moon? 68?
69.
69. Okay, so I was 4 years old.
That was
4 years old? I was born 65, so 69.
It was 2 months after I was born.
Yeah.
It was July of 69.
Okay, so my vivid memory of my dad sitting in his underwear. He had a white T-shirt on, white underwear, and sitting in front of the TV pointing, we just landed on the moon.
Right.
We just landed on the moon. And I remember him being blown away, and then we went from that to we would watch Star Trek.
Sure.
Like reruns of Star Trek. He loved science fiction. He would take me to his work.
What did he do?
He worked in computers at Chrysler. Like early, like he studied computer science in college when that was sort of a joking thing to do. Like, what would you say? And I have these vivid memories of also, he would bring these computer cards home that had like the little
holes in them. Yeah.
He would bring boxes of those home from work so I could color on them. Because they were worthless.
Yeah.
The punch cards, right? So that's how they would program these giant banks of computers.
Sure.
So he was obsessed with all that stuff in Star Trek. So he took me to see 2001: A Space Odyssey at 5, and it blew my mind because someone went to the bathroom in a movie, and so it made it, especially the confusing ending of that film, which you kind of have to read the book to actually understand. The Star Child comes
If you have not watched this movie, I swear.
Who has not seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?
If you have not, I could comfortably say top 10 greatest film of all time.
Unbelievable.
Not just top science fiction movie. Top 10 greatest film of all time.
We should watch it tonight on my big screen. I have the Blu-ray, but it blew me away. So then I became obsessed with movies where people went to the bathroom.
Are you German?
No.
Oh,
actually, part German. I'm German, English, Irish, Russian, and Polish.
Okay.
I'm like
that's
Europe,
like 10 people.
I'm like Europe had an orgy. I'm like one of those private movies, if you know what I'm talking about. The label private,
sure.
The adult film label. Anyways, so I'm like Europe had an orgy. That's basically my roots. So
this was beginning of your interest to show business stuff, because Detroit's really not known for show business stuff,
right? But
except for music.
But there's a lot of people from Detroit, and I think it has to do with the weather is really shitty. Even during the summer, it's too humid to go out. It rains. It's the winters suck. I feel like there's a lot of people from Michigan in the entertainment business. I mean, if you talk, we even jokingly call it the Michigan Mafia. Like I knew Sam Raimi when I was in college. He lent me a camera, a 16mm Canon Scoopik to make.
You knew him?
Yeah. Back then, I mean, he would probably barely remember me now, but he knows who I am because I've interviewed him a bunch of times for Film Threat. But Sam Raimi was so cool, and he was one of the guys who was doing something. He's older than me, but he was always doing something. I mean, he's made that new Oz movie, which I haven't seen yet. I want to see it though.
I liked it a lot.
You did? I do want to see it. I do want to see it because I hear James Franco gets the shit kicked out of him. I hear it's kind of like an Evil Dead movie. But there's really not a lot to do in Michigan. So a lot of people from Michigan, became obsessed with film, and these sort of retro theaters popped up where I got to see on the big screen movies like East from Eden, James Dean. I got to see all of John Waters' movies, Pink Flamingos and Desperate Living and Polyester. Like I saw all of John Waters' work. David Lynch Eraserhead would play midnights. I'd go see Quadrophenia midnights. I mean, I wanted to get, most kids when they were 16 years old, they wanted to get a car, so they could get laid and go out on dates with girls and have a place to make out and lose their virginity and whatnot.
But you had this obsession.
I wanted to get a car so I could drive to the movie theater and see movies by myself, and not have to depend on a friend who had a car who was older, or a friend's mom, or my mom to drive me to the movie theater. I wanted a car so I could go see movies. So I bought a car when I was 14 years old, one that never ran. It was a Chevelle Super Sport, 1969.
Wait, why would you buy it at 14? You can't drive for another 2 years.
Because I was a friend of mine was helping me rebuild it, but it never ran, and I ran out of money, so I ended up buying a shitty car. Anyways, that doesn't matter. I finally got a car just so I could go to movies. And I would plan my Friday out. And by the time I was a senior in high school, I'd worked it out where I had classes when I was a senior in high school where I could leave school at lunch. I would see every movie that opened that day. So every movie that opened, I would go to the mall theater with my beat up whatever car, and I would just switch theaters. So I would pay one price. This was when it was very easy to do. And I would just go from one theater to the other, and I would see every movie that opened that day. So I feel like I learned a lot about, in whatever career I have now.
Doing a little bit of show business
doing
stuff. Doing
comedy, a little bit of show business of, be grateful.
Yes.
Be humble. Treat regular people like they're celebrities. Treat celebrities like regular people. And I would
That's a
observe,
good advice.
Yeah, I would just observe this behavior, like I would see him talk to people, and he would just be so grateful, like, thank you, buying his, albums. And this is a really funny story. I got to stay home from school one day because he was on the Phil Donahue show.
Oh, you're kidding me.
The Phil Donahue show when I was growing up as a kid was a huge show. Huge.
It was like Oprah in a heyday.
It was like Oprah and Phil Donahue was way better than Oprah. He was a much smarter dude. Anyways, my dad was on the Phil Donahue show along with 2 other quartets. So I remember having to give the principal or my teacher a note saying, we please request that Chris stay home from school. His dad is going to be on TV. I remember thinking that was a big deal. I was in 3rd grade. And
well, what was their reaction when you gave that paper to them?
Oh, it was cool. I was super excited. My dad's going to be on TV. Now it's not such a big deal. Anybody can be on TV or the internet or whatever.
And I guess because you guys didn't have VCR back then?
No, there was no. Well, he ended up getting a 3/4-inch tape, and I have a copy of it somewhere. But that was a really amazing. My dad's talking to Phil Donahue, and Phil Donahue was a show I remember watching as a kid. And I remember watching it as more something my mom would have on, and during the summers I would see it.
For those of you who listen to this, if you're not familiar with Phil Donahue show, it was obviously most of you probably know Oprah, but he really was before Oprah. He was the biggest in Chicago, right?
And much smarter show. I mean, Oprah, I feel is just pandering and stupid, and not a big fan of Oprah at all. Fuck her.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
What? I'm just not a fan of hers. I feel she.
I think Phil Donahue's career kind of prematurely ended because Oprah kind of took over the whole scene.
Right, she did because I feel what Oprah does, which is why I hate local news, is. Let's say I'm with my girlfriend and or wife. You're with your girlfriend and or wife and or mate, the companion in your life. Maybe you're gay and it's a dude, or maybe you're gay and it's a chick. I don't give a shit. You are with your companion, your life mate, someone you care about, your love. And Oprah brings up a topic that's here's what's wrong with your relationship. And you maybe that's wrong with my relationship. I feel what she does, she is.
Are you saying she's creating problems?
Yes, I feel she incites drama within couples. I feel she does what local news does, which is you may have cancer if you have brown spots on you. But they don't tell you it'll be on 11 tonight at 11.
Tonight, you can't just tell me,
You can't just tell me right now in 6 seconds. You have to.
You made me all upset.
It's alarmist media, and I find it's bullshit. And that's why I'm not an Oprah fan. That's why I'm not a fan of local news. I feel if you want to increase the level of stress in your life, watch the local news.
Sure.
Or if you would like to watch these shows that tell you have problems you didn't know you had before you watched the show.
Yeah.
Okay? Think about that. So, fuck Oprah. Fuck Oprah. I feel she is... I feel... Well, in the same way, I feel she has done some good things.
Sure.
She has brought self-confidence. She's brought confidence to a segment of American society that's been, for the most part, ignored. Mainly black women. Let's be frank. And when I say black women, I'm talking about some of the women that you've had sex with. In terms of... Right? Am I wrong? You have had sex with black female prostitutes.
When I was 15, but after that, it was not anything specifically I've gone out of my way to have sex with them.
All right, okay. I thought that you had a thing for black female.
No.
You know what? Maybe I'm thinking of Bill Maher. I'm sorry, Yoshi. I apologize. I'm thinking.
No.
Of Bill Maher.
What I said about
Bill Maher.
What I said about black prostitutes is true. They're cheaper than other prostitutes.
So you are the budget-minded.
Sure. When I've said this story before, where
John, you're the budget-minded John.
Yeah, this is when I was 15.
This will be another podcast, The Budget-Minded John.
I think I was 15 or 16 in Long Beach, and I was walking by, and this girl said, you want a blowjob for $20 or something. That was the first time I ever had any sort of experience of that kind. But I've always said this before. It's just it's kind of a joke, but they are cheaper than comparison to other race for most part. At least that's my impression of it. But I don't actively go after black girls, because one other thing I will say, kind of jokingly, but it's hard for me to be attracted to a girl if I know for sure I can't beat her up.
Oh my God!
And black women seem like they will fight back. That's I don't know why, but I'm not going actively looking girl for to beat up. But I'm just saying that they seem too aggressive for me. That's all. Anyway, going from black prostitute to Chris's childhood. So what I find, because we have a limited amount of time, but what I find interesting that you didn't grow up in a traditionally area known for show business.
Well,
so I think it's great that you were so obsessed with it, and it had a huge influence in your life.
Well,
eventually, you ended up in California, right?
Well, here's what happened is I realized that like you don't know. I feel like you don't know you're poor until you reach a certain age. So it was like sort of the tail end of high school. I began to notice like, hey, like a lot of people have clothes that are nicer than mine, or a lot of people have cars that are nicer than mine. Like I had to buy my car. I saved for years to buy my car from money I made on my paper route and working at a video store.
Sure.
And I lied about my age. Actually, this is funny. I lied about my age to work at this video store because they carried porn. When I was 16 years old, I just lied and said, I'm 18, and then got a job at this video store where they carried porn. After they found out that I was not, that they didn't give a shit.
Because at the end of the day, you were doing your job.
Well, yeah, and also it was a way for me to get free movies. There was a place that used to sell. It was Thomas Video, which was a famous video store in Michigan that carries like I think they outlasted the Blockbuster in the area because all the indie video stores carried porn. And Blockbuster.
That is a fact because I work in the business for a long time.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing that kept mom and pop places alive for a long time. Yeah, you need to have porn.
Porn and unrated movies.
Sure. And
so, but you don't realize you're poor. And then I realized, like, oh my God, like, my parents are divorced. Like, they don't have money for college. Like, I'm going to go to college and have to get financial aid.
Sure.
I'm going to go to college and have to work 2 or 3 jobs. So I had newspaper routes from the time I was 9 years old through the age of 19. I was in college, rushing from my college class to pick up newspapers to deliver them to my customers. And then I also worked restaurants on the weekend, and then during the week I worked at this video store.
Do you know who else did a paper route?
Who?
David Lynch.
So bad with geography.
Yes, they were bad with geography because they told me.
What about math?
Oh, well. We're pretty good, except when it comes to gambling. It makes no sense how many Asians play when the house are in vast majority of time.
What about slot machines?
Wait. You mean the slot machine?
The slot machines. I'm sorry. It's been a weird day.
Yeah, for me too. So, Chris, tell me the story with David Lynch. I know you interviewed him. How did that go? I think people will be interested.
No, it was cool. I mean, I've always been a David Lynch fan.
Yeah, who isn't? Seriously.
Right. I mean, from Eraserhead and everything after that.
And I'm from Seattle and Twin Peaks. I love that show.
I love it. And I just
Blue Velvet.
I had the opportunity to interview him, and I went to his house, and he has 2 houses next to each other.
Is this in L.A.?
In the Hollywood Hills.
When was this? I mean, how far do we go back?
This is years ago, like 15 years ago.
Okay.
10 years ago.
So let me guess, you're a great journalist, writer, and this is your opportunity for you to meet your hero. You really, and
He's a huge hero.
Yeah, so you must be really excited.
I was blown away. But what was cool was discovering that in one of the houses he does art, and that's his office, and he does not cook in that house. In the other house he lives in, he cooks in.
Okay.
So he will not allow food in one house, and then the other house he works in. I mean, what was interesting was he had taken a piece of roadkill and shellacked it to a piece of art. Mm-hmm. So he was working on a canvas in his office that had shellacked what looked like the remains of a squirrel.
Okay.
I thought that was creative, a good use of found art and or a dead animal.
And watching his movies, you're not that surprised because he's got a history.
Exactly.
He's known for doing bizarre, weird stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. But what was really fun was to talk to him about, I'm a big fan of the film Dune.
Yeah.
I think his Dune, it's not a perfect movie, and I said it's an ambitious disaster.
Yes.
And he even he's disavowed the movie. There are versions of the movie where he took the credit Alan Smithy. Alan Smithy is the name that people would use. It's a pseudonym that directors would use when they didn't want credit for a movie. They would just put the name Alan Smithy on there. And so he did that with the TV version of Dune. The theatrical version, he kept his name on, but the only reason he did the movie was so that he could make Blue Velvet. He wanted to make Blue Velvet, and he was
So
like,
this is the deal he made with studio. They said you could make Blue Velvet as long as you do.
Well, it's the deal he made with Dino De Laurentiis, not the studio. So he did, he did Dune so that he could make Blue Velvet.
Sure.
So I mean, I feel like artists all the time are kind of caught in this thing of like, how do I manipulate and work the system so that I can get what I want? Get the thing that I want to do and have as much creative control as possible. So he did that, and Dune is sort of a mess, but it's a beautiful mess because there are parts of it that I think are brilliant, and there are ideas in it that are amazing. And he did the best he possibly could. I mean, to try and make a 2.5-hour version of such a dense book. I mean, the book's over 400 pages with a glossary in the back. Mm-hmm. And people have attempted it. There have been TV versions. They're not nearly as good. And other people tried to make it. Alejandro Jodorowsky tried to make Dune back in the 70s.
Is that right?
With H.R. Giger doing the artwork, yeah. Yeah, you can look that up. I think there's a famous YouTube video where someone took all the art that Jodorowsky did,
I see,
or that he hired H.R. Giger to do. This is before Giger did Alien. He designed a version. Oh,
that's right. Alien's what, 78, 79, right?
Yeah. Alien was 79, and so Giger was just this, accomplished, scary artist who I admire. But anyway, so yeah, what was cool was talking to him about, he was originally up to direct Return of the Jedi.
What?
What was called Revenge of the Jedi.
Okay.
So you didn't know this?
That I remember, that the whole revenge thing. But
yeah, Revenge of the Jedi, David Lynch was the director who was going to make Revenge of the Jedi. And George Lucas approached him, and he was up for the job. And I asked him about this. I'd never heard this story, but he talked to George Lucas.
And you're an expert, so your jaws must drop when you're hearing this, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. He's telling me this story about how he met George Lucas. They had this big meeting, and he was going to do Revenge of the Jedi. And the thing that really bothered him is that the movie was pretty much all mapped out. Mm-hmm. They had storyboards, the script. George Lucas was really just looking for a director to just do what he said. Because Lucas was really the executive producer of the project. It was George Lucas's money, and it was his undertaking. And David Lynch was just the guy to make it all, to run the set. So I guess Lynch had a meeting with George Lucas, and this was an early version of the script and an early version of the storyboards. And originally, I'm not sure how familiar you are with Return of the Jedi, but at the very end of the movie, there's the characters of the Ewoks.
Right.
In the second half of the film. And originally, what was supposed to happen is the Ewoks are these little tiny, short, teddy bear-like, fuzzy, cute creatures. So the movie is filled with these cute Ewoks, which are very tiny. There were another race of creatures, and this is actually documented in all the Star Wars. You can look at the art of Return of the Jedi, and there's pictures of this. There was another race called the Yuzums, and the Yuzums were this big, tall race of creatures with weird legs and whatever. So you've got the short Ewoks,
right?
And you've got the tall Yuzums. And originally what was supposed to happen is that the Yuzums and the Ewoks were supposed to be this race that was fighting, and they would have to unite in order to overthrow the Empire.
Okay.
But David Lynch just very pointedly, he actually just turned to Lucas and pointed out, hey, you've got this really, really tall race of alien creatures.
Okay.
You get this really short race of alien creatures. How am I supposed to direct it with their eye lines? How am I supposed to make them have conversations with each other? How do I film it? Basically, David was saying, how do I film this thing?
Yeah.
You've got this idea in your head. And what's odd is that later on, George Lucas ended up using that idea in Star Wars Episode 1. We had the race of Gungans that united with the human race on the planet of Naboo to overthrow the Trade Federation. Now that I say this out loud, I feel stupid knowing all this.
Mm-hmm. Well, why? Why?
I feel stupid, actually, just wow, I know a lot of shit no one cares about that is just dumb.
I care about this.
Well, thank you for saying so. I appreciate it.
But I don't like to say like I'm a super fan, because every time I go Comic-Con, I realize how little I know. Like,
Right. Good for you.
I'm
Good for you, because there's always someone around the corner that can explain. There's always someone who knows way more than I do. So I appreciate that.
I mean, what's his name? The guy who wrote Game of Thrones, J.R.R.
J.R.R. Tolkien.
No, Martin. What's his name?
Right.
He in several interviews was saying sometimes he have to consult one of the major fans in Sweden, because he remember everything way better than he does. Like, he have to call this guy, this X and X character, what color is his eye? He doesn't remember. The super fan remembers that.
Wow.
So it just tells you, even the creator of a thing, they forget sometimes the color of the hair, color of the eye.
Well, that's definitely true with, I think, George Lucas. I mean, it's almost like the prequels had nothing to do with the other Star Wars movies, the original trilogy.
So how did David Lynch lose it, or did he just decide not to do it?
He just decided not to do it, and then he went off and did Dune. So instead of doing Return of the Jedi, David Lynch did Dune.
Who was the character from Tom Selleck? What was that show that he was on? Hawaii.
Magnum P.I.?
Magnum P.I. And I remember he was originally supposed to be the star of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, he was one of the people that was considered, and I think he was actually cast, but it was the TV shooting schedule that prevented him from doing it.
Wow.
Yeah, bummer, right? But can you imagine that movie with Tom Selleck? I don't think it would have been nearly as good. I think Harrison Ford made that movie. I think Harrison Ford made the original Star Wars trilogy.
Sure.
Because him being the skeptic...
And likable rogue character.
Right, exactly. In a way, you were the Han Solo of DVD ASA.
Shut up, don't go back.
Because you, Yoshi Obayashi, you are the skeptic, you're the one who questions.
This is what the stand-up comedians call callback from earlier in the conversation.
It's a callback to the very beginning of our conversation. You, Yoshi, you are the Han Solo. And now...
Then Asa is Princess Leia.
Well, I don't know about that. I think she's one of the
All right.
the slave girls from Jabba's palace. She could be considered a slave. Do they have porn in the Star Wars universe? And you hear, I mean, how many times have you talked to a friend? It's like, I'm doing a Dexter marathon this weekend.
Sure. A lot now.
A lot. It's a thing people do, is they consume, and it's not, I mean, when you think about it, like, I mean, my God, like, okay, so there were
as much as like that system, Chris, because I did watch House of Cards basically one night.
You did.
I could not stop it.
So you did also.
I couldn't stop it. But I don't know if I really enjoy as much as when I have a whole week to watch and think about it, and maybe read an article about explaining certain things I didn't get. You know, and this is something you and I, we're old enough to remember, communal feeling to certain TV show and movies.
Right.
When we went to see Star Wars Return of the Jedi, I stayed in the line the first night. I didn't care. I went the following Monday when you go to school, everybody talked about it.
Right. But also,
you don't do that anymore.
Right. But, well, there are not as many of those cultural events, but
except for sports.
Well, in sports, yes, but I feel like now the way we consume everything on the internet is everything is so disposable. It's you know, this was the big story, and then it's over. This big thing happened, and then it's done. This thing came out, and now it's over. I mean, it's you know, we just become like, meh. You know, look at that and consume it, on to the next.
Sure.
We basically turned into a population of media junkies. I mean, I put myself in that category. I'm definitely a media junkie. So it's internet, porn, streaming this, DVD. What's on my DVR? We're media junkies.
I mean, we really are concerned by entertainment. And remember, Eisenhower warned us a little before he got out of office. He said the danger and the threat of an industrial military complex. Mm-hmm. It's now we live in industrial military entertainment complex.
Right.
Because entertainment is such a huge thing. And even in places like, you'll be amazed, Afghanistan, Taliban who hate us, but goddamn, they can't get enough of Charles Branson, Clint Eastwood, Schwarzenegger, on and on. Any of those macho kind of.
Just remember those countries. If you bomb the United States,
you're not going to get those.
There goes the internet too.
Sure.
So I don't know.
Any other going back?
You know what? The thing is, we could talk a million stories like this. Mm-hmm.
No, and we will. I just want people.
We will. I feel like this is the beginning of what will be. I'll be a recurring co-host with you.
Yeah.
You and I will continue to get to know each other. I mean, I feel like I've gotten to know you by listening to stories that you've told both on this show.
Sure.
And on DVD ASA when, at least the early episodes when you were a part of it, hearing some of the tragic stories and things that have happened in your life, which I would encourage people to
laugh at.
Well, at least to go back and listen to some of those episodes of DVD ASA, the early ones that Yoshi was on. Fuck the ones where they try to get the janitor who can barely speak English to.
Oh, stop it! He
he's terrible,
but he doesn't have anything to do with it. He doesn't have.
He's awful, dude.
Anyway,
that's Cho's choice. I don't know,
but we are the biggest producers of TV and movie business, and I do obsess over it. It's really fun to talk about it, and a lot about it, and I'm just looking forward to. I mean, we will definitely talk about other stuff too,
right.
But your expertise is pretty amazing.
Oh well, thank you. So this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship on Yoshi Didn't. Now wait a sec. Can I ask a question though?
Sure, you could ask a bunch of questions.
Did David Cho fire Lalit off this show? Does he have that kind of power?
I didn't fire her. She quit.
Oh, she quit? She quit? Wow. Okay. Wow. I didn't know the whole. I don't know how much you want to talk about that on the show.
No,
I mean she'll address it.
It's I will talk about it when this time is right. But it's just.
Yes, this is a long pause.
It's, how would I phrase it? I don't know if it's a taboo, but I don't mind talking about stories about the people that I have problem with. But it's.
Is it because she's not here?
It's cringy because this is my show, and I don't mind talking about other people's show, but I don't know why I just have this really gagging attitude talking about it in my show. I don't care that Dave talk about me on the show. It's just one thing I could say with confidence that Dave's not a very fair guy, and he does have a terrible memory, and when he does something wrong to others, he's dismissive or minimize what he did, but he will magnify when things are done to him. And he said when he got mad at me for the potato chip incident that he doesn't give a fuck about intention. Well, I think intention is a big factor in life. And there's many times he did something he probably regret, and at the time he wasn't malicious about it. He had a good intention, but it just seems strange to me. He's too busy seeing faults in my life, but he can't see in his life, And I don't think it's healthy to surround yourself with a bunch of people who are always saying yes to you. I think you should be secure enough to hear people not agreeing with you with things, And he should sometimes ask me, why did I say no to him, or why I say I don't want to do something, I'm just not a fan of forcing people to do things they don't want to do. I never am a fan of that.
It's only if it's consensual.
It just, like. I'm a fan of if you say something you're going to do it and you don't do it, and other people see it that you don't keep your word. Then I just feel like you're not obligated to listen to that person. You lost the credibility.
Right.
That's how I'm wired. I mean, even with Evil Angel, once I realized the guy that I was working for proved to me that he's not that principled, and he is simply a businessman and willing to compromise, and He definitely didn't protect his kids. You have a point.
No. I heard that story.
Yeah. So, and once he proved to me that he really doesn't mean what he claimed to believe in certain principle, then I didn't want to be part of that.
Wow.
Of course, that's not practical, and any fan of Game of Thrones will tell you the Stark family got fucked because they're not practical with principles, Like, they're playing against, like, the Lannister family and so on. They're playing game differently. They're there to win. They're there to accumulate power. They don't give a fuck about keeping their words and being principled. That's why I think Stark families are dead. Until up to this season 3. I don't know why I'm talking about them, but I'm really obsessed over the show, and it just shows, Lannisters are winning because they only give a fuck about their survival and power and money, And people who believe in principle and believe in those ideas, they're at disadvantage.
Well, I wonder if there could be, like, you could write a book. You could write a book called Game of Cho. And Game of Cho would be, it's not about David Cho,
yes,
but it is about the Cho family.
No. They're a nice family. They're a nice family.
But it's all fiction. It's all fiction.
Here's the thing.
It's just fiction. It's just a story.
Here's the sad part, Chris. I'm saying, here's the sad part.
You could do Game of Cho.
It's sad because I don't want to make a light of
and then
I don't want to make a light of addiction because I really don't know. I thought I did. I don't know. I do have problems, but I'm not too crazy about anything like that at his level and other addicts. So maybe that has something to do with. But I just thought I'm incredibly stubborn, and and I don't budge. And believe me, it's not in my interest to fight against people who are providing me with a job. But like, I'm just wired that way. Like, once I realized they're just bullshitting me, I just couldn't sit there and take orders from people like that. I'm just not a practical guy. Evil Angel offered me my job back. I didn't take it because several people lied about me, and I could have just taken the job back. But I know myself well enough. I wouldn't have gone back, punched one or both of them. I've done stuff like that. And I would have gone to jail. That's the major reason why I didn't go back. And with Dave, I guess I could have done exactly what he was saying to me, but there's times I just thought, God, the screaming, yelling, I just don't deal with that. You're talking to a grown-ass man, and they talk a lot about they're going to do this and that or get violent, but he's not a violent type at all. He's just not. I don't like screaming, that's all. I don't like screaming. I don't like yelling. And, doesn't have to get personal.
Well, that's it for this week's show. I really want to thank my good friend Yoshi Obayashi. You can download the app for his podcast, Yoshi Didn't. You can find it on iTunes. You can follow him at Yoshi Obayashi. That's Yoshi Obayashia on Twitter. You can also find him on Facebook and go to yoshididn't.com. I also want to say that PodCRASH is a proud member of the Sideshow Network. You can listen to all types of other shows on Sideshow. Go to sideshownetwork.tv and download the app. And also, hey, there's a PodCRASH app available for iPhone. In fact, it just came out for Kindle. The PodCRASH app is now in the Amazon store. It's available for Kindle, and it's absolutely free. Highly recommend it. Follow the show at PodCRASH Show. Follow me at that Chris Gore. Like the show, facebook.com/PodCRASH. And I ask you this every week, and I really appreciate the people. But you guys have not done this in a while. Sign in under a different account on iTunes and post a review. Positive if you think we deserve it, and a 5 stars if you think we deserve that. Go to iTunes, sign in under a friend's account. Because that's truly, if you sign in under a friend's account, it's like, in a way, it's like giving a friend award. I don't know. I'm trying to connect it to my rant at the top of the show. In any case, go to iTunes. Please give the show a review, comment on there. I will read the comments. I will respond to any questions and whatnot. And I really want to thank you for listening. But by the time you hear this, I might have already done these shows at Dragon Con. I'm going to try and upload this before I get on a plane. You have no idea. My place is a disaster. And my friends who come to my house know that my place is never a disaster. It's always neat and clean. I'm like Things Organized Neatly, that Tumblr. If any of you guys have seen that Things Organized Neatly Tumblr, that is my entire place. It's very neat and organized. So for it to be in chaos now as I pack to go to Dragon Con. See how confused I am? See how like in a rush that I can't. It's been a blur. WonderCon, Comic-Con, Dragon. Blah, 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 blah. I am off to Dragon Con, and I will be. This is going to be mostly fun for me. I can't wait to meet some of you, and I'll be doing a signing of my book and comedy album, Celebrities Poop, at the comedy show. So please show up. It's I believe 10 o'clock on Saturday night and 8 o'clock on Sunday night. You can get more information at dragoncon.com. And one final thing, let's get out of here, because I really do have to get out of here. I got a plane to catch.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
All right, Hal. I'll go in through the emergency airlock.
Without your space helmet, Dave, you're going to find that rather difficult.
Hal, I won't argue with you anymore. Open the doors.
Dave, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
Hal? 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 Hal?
Hey, if you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You like to cosplay and go to conventions and hang out and drink at places like Dragon Con. And if you're doing that, you and I are a lot alike. And I like you, and for that you shall be rewarded. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California 90036. You will receive in return the PodCRASH Fan Club Kit absolutely free. And if you keep listening, here's a bonus piece of audio from Yoshi Didn't, where Yoshi imparts some very important comedy advice to me, and I think I need it. I think I really need it. Later, you do what, and you gave me a great note for my comedy album,
Sure.
which I took, like you want to get to know the person, because that's something you can't copy. You could steal a joke, right? A stupid joke you can steal, but you can't steal someone's personality. Although
Personality.
sometimes that does happen, actually.
Personality, but personal stories. Like, I think you asked me and my friend Tana Minu, like, there's certain story or jokes, whether to include it in your special. We both told you to do it, because even if it doesn't get even the biggest laugh compared to other jokes.
Oh, I guarantee they won't get the biggest laughs.
But this is something Bill Hicks said, that like, even if you're working a new material and you're not getting a big laugh, but if it's an interesting premise, interesting story, people will listen. It doesn't have to be like laughter. Like, people are looking for experience